Hello and welcome to the next installment of the FCM By Your Side webinar series. My name is Michelle Jolly and I'm the Brand Marketing Manager for FCM Travel Solutions here in the Americas. Thank you for taking the time to join us. Today we'll be hearing more about how FCM is working together with travel startup Shep to help companies communicate important travel policy and safety information to travelers when they book online. Before we get started, I would like to mention that we'll be leaving some time at the end of the presentation for Q&As. So please post any questions you may have via the chat window in the control panel to the right of your screens. A recording of the session will also be sent to you afterwards. I would now like to hand over to our moderator for today, Peter Saltakis, FCM's Technical Solutions Director, to get us underway. Over to you, Peter.
Wonderful. Thank you, Michelle, and hello, everyone. Thank you to all the attendees who are joining us today and everyone who will be watching this recording afterwards on FCM's YouTube channel. My name is Peter Saltakis, as Michelle said. I'm the Technical Solutions Director at FCM and today's host. I'd like to preface that today is the first time I've worn a collared shirt and done my hair in the last 7 weeks simultaneously, so I'm sure many of you can relate. With us today, we have Daniel Seniard, who's the CEO and co-founder at Shep. Daniel, if you want to jump on there on the video. Daniel has a significant and successful background in travel startups, founding his first company nearly 10 years ago. In 2016, he introduced the world to Shep, which helps companies improve travel program savings, compliance, and safety through its award-winning browser extension. In January 2020, FCM announced a minority investment in Shep, and through this partnership, we've developed some great technologies that'll be highlighted today, with a focus on how Shep can help deliver health, safety, and other relevant messages to travelers during the online booking process. So jumping right in, I'm pleased to introduce Daniel and have him lead today's presentation. Over to you, Daniel.
Thanks, Peter, and thanks everyone for being here. Speaking of hair, these photos make me miss the days of being able to get a haircut, so I think we're a little bit scraggly at the moment, but let's get started. So, as Peter said, we've been around for a few years, founded in late 2016, small startup team. We've been bouncing around the world, startup contests, travel and such, doing, we presented at Innovate and GBTA. We recently won Plug and Play, which is a startup accelerator in the Bay Area. The core team is based in and around Texas, mostly in Austin. Obviously, I'm not an Austinite like Michelle. I'm a South African, but I've been living in Texas now for about 15 years. While we are a small startup, we have been working with some pretty large companies, some Fortune 20 companies and such, and I've gotten some good press coverage in the past. And as such, we got the attention of the FCM and Flight Centre team fairly early on, and the company was actually called something else. It was called Comply, and which, as you'll see on the next screen, is hard to spell and pronounce. But essentially, what we were doing in the early days was we'd built a tool for small to medium companies, typically unmanaged, to guide behavior for business travel. So employees, a lot of them had never heard of Concur or didn't know what a TMC was. So we built a browser extension so that the employees could keep booking on Expedia and Airbnb and Delta, but we could guide behavior by literally putting red and green boxes around results that were in or out of policy and telling them what they could or couldn't book and capturing the booking data for duty of care. If you try to book something that was in a red box, we'd tell you you were out of policy. As you can see, there's the Comply. We thought it was very clever with the .ai at the end, but it turned out most people called us Compl, which wasn't great. So we rebranded to Shep and moved up to the managed market. And the story behind the name was Comply sounds like Big Brother, forcing you into compliance, whereas Shep is really about helping guide and facilitate good booking behavior for employees of business travel, and again moved up into the managed enterprise space. And very early on, since I think one of the first, within probably a couple of weeks of having our website up, someone from the Flight Centre team reached out via our chat, and probably one of our first 5 chat messages was from someone saying, "Hey, this looks like promising technology. we'd like to keep in touch, and we have done since then. And then on New Year's Eve, we got the word that Flight Centre was investing, or FCM was investing at least. So it was a very nice way to kind of kick off the new decade with some funding and a big strategic partner to work with us. We're going to run it. Peter's going to run a poll quickly.
Yep, thanks for that, Daniel. So we're going to ask for a little audience interaction now and put up an interactive poll on the screen. There you go, you can see it now. And the idea here is to figure out the behaviors around how travel program stakeholders engage with their constituents before, during, and after the booking process. So as you can see there, at what point do you normally communicate or engage with travelers during the booking process? A, never or very rarely. B, pre-booking during approval. C, through an automated process in the OBT, online booking tool. D, post-booking when travel is non-compliant. Or E, I don't know. So we're going to give it another 5 or 10 seconds here or so. So whether you're checking your email, watching TV, or dialed in 100% watching this, all of you on the GoToMeeting, go ahead and click. And when the results come in, we're going to go ahead and flash them up there on the screen. So 3, 2, 1, we should be good to proceed. And let's see what we got. Leading the way, 42% through an automated process in the OBT, followed by pre-booking, followed by never, followed by post-booking. Fortunately, only 2% said, I don't know, which I think is good. But Daniel, what do you make of these results? Is this normal in your experience with SHEP?
Yeah, this seems about right. The OBT does have the ability to sort of have notifications and such. What we have heard often, though, is that one of the problems there is it can take up to 72 hours for that message to be propagated and displayed out to all the employees. And so that can be a little bit tricky in today's environment where travel in certain regions opens up and closes, at the release of a report. So being agile is pretty important. The I don't knows and the nevers, and that's not surprising either, especially when you do have a large amount of leakage and people booking outside. You're not able to communicate with them at all until probably post travel, never mind post booking. So yeah, this looks about right.
Perfect. And I think that tees us up pretty nicely for what you're going to present next.
Yeah, great.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so the way we look at the kind of world right now is really in 2 phases. Right now, we're in a phase where there's a lot of adjustment. Because there's a downtime in travel, there is an opportunity to prepare for the next phase, to get your program, your technology, your team prepared and qualify. How do you qualify different tools and processes, maybe new travel policies, maybe new suppliers? There's a whole lot that can be done right now to get ready. And so travelers are living in a world where there's a lot of questions and uncertainty. They're not really sure what to do and when they can do it. The TMCs like FCM, for example, they're looking at how do we monitor, the trends? When should things ramp up? When are our clients going to start traveling more? They need to be able to respond very quickly to that demand as it changes. And like everyone, looking at budget cuts, how do you stay lean but still be effective during this stage? Similar with the company, it's really about monitoring the environment, knowing when and where it's safe to travel, being able to communicate that effectively and at the right time to the employees. And again, where do we need to make budget cuts to get through this period? And the way that we can help is by allowing for clear travel restriction, telling people where and when they can't travel in the online booking tool or on any consumer site, redirecting people to the right resource. So if they are looking for a trip, maybe they need to go to the World Health Organization or an intranet site you guys have set up or a TMC resource page. We can help gather pre-trip approvals so that even if someone forgets to do that outside of the booking tool or they're in the middle of searching, we can kind of collect those. And then also doing region by region guidance. So as China opens up and France closes down, you need to be able to communicate that based on that context. We then see the future kind of changing where travelers are now starting to regain trust in their team, their TMC, their suppliers, everything basically. They're learning new systems, adapting new habits, adopting new habits, and starting to gain confidence to travel more. TMCs are going to be, focused on retaining their customers, making sure they're able to service people in this new travel world, managing that change, and analyzing what's going on and how can they keep servicing and providing the best service. And companies are going to have a lot to do. There's going to be lots of education and engagement, making sure that employees know what to do. Again, that new technology, new programs, establishing those guidelines, getting that tech implemented and adopted, and aligning their KPIs to the sort of new expectations. And what we can do there is, as people are searching and booking more, we can redirect them back to preferred channels. So the whole leakage, rogue travel, we can send people back to the online booking tool. We can educate them about how to use the tools they have, and we can optimize those tools by producing these sort of educational touches. And all this seems very up in the air, so confusing, I'm sure. So we'll get more specific about how we do this. Essentially, what Shep is a browser extension. And for those of you that aren't familiar with that concept, it's not a website. It lives up here, literally in your browser window, next to your search bar, and it can provide functionality on top of websites. So in this instance, this is Delta's website. We are popping up a message on top of Delta that is educating you, that saying to the employee, hey, there's a coronavirus situation, you need to click here to get more info. So what that allows us to do is deliver the right message, so context-aware message at the right time on almost any site. And when I say almost any site, it's 1,800 different consumer sites, as well as your online booking tool. And we can do this in some cases, not on all sites, but on many, including Concur, where we can pop up different messages on the homepage, the results, when they click on the details and the checkout page, and even the confirmation page. So you can really communicate with your employees at every step along the way, depending on what they're doing. And I'll obviously show you a demo, so it feels a bit more concrete, I think. I'll show you the 3 different kinds of notifications we have. One which is pretty standard, it's just a title, communication text, and then a button that can link and send them somewhere else. One which is under testing right now, so this isn't live yet, but will be in a matter of weeks, which is location specific. So again, we see you're searching for a hotel in Mozambique. We are telling you need to get a vaccine. Click here to schedule your appointment. And another is rich media. So being able to embed videos, photos, actual HTML directly in this. And we'll see examples of all of those. You can skip that because I'll show you that. So I had planned on doing a video demo of this, but I'm going to go against my better judgment and do a live demo of the product. It's always risky to do that, but I think it's much more impactful. So the way it works is if I go to Expedia, you'll see here I've got the extension installed up there. That's where it lives. I'm an employee and I go to Expedia. As soon as I hit Expedia, this little message pops up and says, hey, you're not meant to be here. Here's more information. Or if it's a personal trip, the employee clicks that and then it stops notifying them. But if they say, all right, I want to get this information, it redirects them to whatever site you want to. This is an FCM page with resources that they've put together. But that could be anything. That could be the CDC, World Health Organization, or your own intranet site. Another example would be someone goes to Orbitz, and this could be in the sort of post-corona world, saying your company's travel policy requires you to book directly through the booking tool, and now we're directing them to the booking tool. There we are. Another example is for those of you who allow Airbnb. If your employee goes to Airbnb's website, we're telling them, hey, don't use this, go to Airbnb for work. So redirecting them there. If you use TripLink in your program to connect between the direct bookings and the booking tool and the expenses, we can pop up on AA and say, you haven't yet connected TripLink to AA. And here's an example of those educational touches I was talking about. We can actually put a video right here that tells them how to set this up and walks them through the steps. So this can be anywhere. I'm going to now go to Concur and show you. So now I'm in the booking tool. I'm going to do a search for a hotel. So let's do these dates. I'm going to look for a hotel in New York. That's the one. And you see now it's looking, bringing in the results. And as soon as the results come in, we're then able to tell you, hey, you need additional approvals. Do you really need to take this trip? Yes. Why? It's business critical. Who do you need to send it to? This is just a Google Forms. This is just something we mocked up to show you an example of what this form could look like. It's just embedded, and they can submit. And right there, you can have an email in your inbox saying, Daniel's looking for a hotel in New York, and here's why he's doing it. And so those are all the sort of different use cases showing you that we can inject touch points, education, messaging across all sorts of travel sites.
Hey, Daniel, question here. So Shep seems very much asynchronous communication driven, right? You send the message, it's based on rules, and you're not expecting an immediate response. There is option for response depending on what that action point might be. But how would you see the evolution of this with traditional managed travel programs with integrating Shep as a communication tool? How do you see this changing the game with how people convey that? Because historically it's very email driven, right? What you're doing here is you're really putting the rules into the next level of direct communication, no?
Yeah, so the ability like this here, as I said, this Google form actually lives somewhere else. We're just embedding it within here. So the ability to do that with multiple things, so you can imagine like your duty of care provider, instead of us or the travel manager saying, you're not allowed to travel to Paris, we could be reaching out to your duty of care provider and saying, hey, this person is searching for a hotel in Paris, what should we tell them? And so we could dynamically bring in real-time content. The other option is if someone is booking outside, we could query theoretically any API. So it could be Concur and say, what's the travel policy? Are they allowed to, does it have to be refundable? So we could really inject those little touch points. A pretty compelling one, I think, is if someone is searching off channel and they're looking at a specific hotel on hotels.com, we could then take that request, so hotel in Paris on these dates, send that to the TMC and get the response back and say, here's what you would get if you booked it in channel, and it would be refundable, it would have free Wi-Fi, late checkout, free breakfast. So really trying to communicate that value of in-channel booking beyond just the price that's refundable and such. So sort of blurring the lines between all the different platforms so that we can better integrate duty of care into OBT, into TMC touches, and really like, the World Health Organization is a great example, reaching out to their API and saying, what are the current status of travel to Mongolia? We could bring that in as well. So just opening up this hyper flexible way of communicating almost anything.
Augmented experience.
Exactly. And again, it's very important to understand that this is just a layer on top. This just lives. So you can still operate as you would normally. We're not getting in the way. This is just layering on additional information and context. I want to show you how easy it is to create one of these now. So I'm going to go into our admin panel, and I'm going to use this one as a template, and I'm going to put a little emoji in here. Let's put a smiley face.
Hey, Daniel, while you're pulling that up.
Yeah.
So the solution, right now you're using a Chrome browser, correct?
Exactly, yes.
Yep. Can you share a little bit about, you mentioned Sheps browser extension, what the platforms that it supports or it can be supported on are for web browsers?
Yeah, so today it's on Chrome. It's currently in testing with Microsoft Edge will be the next one, and that should go live in a couple weeks. Shortly followed by probably Firefox, Brave, and those are all fairly quick for us to do. So it will be within a couple months. We should be on all of those. The Microsoft one is actually in the store, I believe, in approvals now. So that should be live fairly soon with Edge.
Thanks.
So I'm going to target this to go to Trivago. And I can actually do a preview right here. So as you see, there's my little emoji. It's going to load in the map in the background. It's loading a little slowly, but here is a map showing you cases of coronavirus around the world. And this is where I was saying we can embed any sort of content that has an API, which is like a way for our code to talk to another site's code, basically. But we can really have this very dynamic content. So I'm going to create that. And all things go well, live demos. I'm going to go to Trivago, and we should see that very message. There, hi webinar attendees, and there's the map. So if you look at that compared to a case where, I've heard it be reported that it can take 72 hours to get a new message updated on an OBT, then having that ability to create and deploy a new communication to your team almost instantly is pretty powerful. And just we feel very, very critical given today's very, very dynamic environment. Okay, I'm going to go back to the presentation.
Great. And while that's firing up, one follow-up question to the web browser question is mobile readiness. Is there a plan in the future to have this also populate and work on mobile?
Yeah, there is. Mobile is something we've been playing with. It is more complicated because obviously you're not using one browser where we can kind of overlay things, using multiple different apps. So it is a completely different methodology. And so we were sort of really focused on the browser experience right now, but have plans for mobile as well.
Thanks.
Yeah. So the benefits of this are to allow you to communicate priorities, so delivering that right message at the right time across your online booking tool, OTA, supplier sites, providing direction, so sending employees to where they should be, whether that's back to the OBT or to a resource page or information page, and driving better adoption of your booking tool. So when travel does spin back up, how do we make sure people are booking inside and understand the value of booking in channel? The future steps, so that, as I said, the sort of context, destination-based messaging is being built right now. So today you can have different messages at different points. It's just not talking to the specific city you're going to, but that will be within a matter of weeks, maybe even a week. My team is on the call and is going to kill me afterwards, but very soon we'll have that. That dashboard I just showed you is not live yet. That's in testing. And the reason all this stuff is kind of in the works is we started working on this specific project on the 11th of March. So this messaging really was a response to how do we slow down coronavirus related travel due to coronavirus. And so we kind of flipped our product, our whole team focused on that to build this and push it out very quickly. So a lot of these things are happening in real time. But the dashboard will be live within a couple of weeks as well. We do have a way for you to create and upload and all that stuff, which I'll show you, but that live dashboard's not yet live yet. And then, as I mentioned, the sort of like APIs, so pulling external data sources into that. Instead of you having to create that, we can pull from an external source in the future. And so there is a reason why it's good to get this started today, because even if your travel program is at a almost standstill, now is the time to sort of look at new tech and prepare for this. So now it's about slowing travel, getting that duty of care communication out, being able to change the behavior, but getting this in place on computers so that as soon as it is time to start traveling back to specific clients, countries, and being able to communicate when and where they can travel. That additional communication, control, and plugging leakage is going to be incredibly important. So you don't want to wait until that becomes a critical problem where you can't get to people. You're running around emailing, phoning, trying to change their travel plans that they maybe shouldn't have made. You need to get ahead of that very quickly. So what I'd like everyone to do is, if you are on a Chrome browser, we'd love for you to play with this and get your feedback and get your team on it. So this URL is going to be shared in the chat if you go into the chat area, but also you can just type this in. It's just the bit.ly link, so it's a shortened link, but do note the uppercase S and N. And again, that'll take you to the Chrome store, and I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm now going to the Chrome store. I'm just going to remove my extension. So what you would do the first time you get here, you can read about it, you can see images and such. This version is white labeled for FCM because we've partnered with them on this, but you can use this regardless of your TMC, whether you're managed or unmanaged. This is available for free to everyone. You add it to Chrome. You say you add the extension. Then you see in the top corner now it's been installed. So your next step, once it's installed and it lives up there, is to click on that extension. And there's two different ways to sign in. If you are a client of either FCM or Corporate Traveler, you click on sign in with one of those. If not, you just at the bottom here sign up, and there you create a username and password, and that's how you log in. And once you logged in, it's not something you have to do over and over again. Once you logged in, you remain logged in. If you are with either FCM or Corporate Traveler, so I say I'm going to log in with FCM, I put in my work email address, and I sign in. And what that then does is it just validates and says, is Daniel indeed a client of FCM? And if so, you know, then it sort of logs me in. And you actually see here it's now white labeled, so it now says FCM. It's no longer the SHEP logo there. Another thing that I didn't mention is if you do go to one of these sites and you are, I guess I did mention the personal trip. So here's another way to do it as well. So if you are on a site and you don't want, you're booking a vacation on a work computer, you can just click here and say personal trip, and then it won't track. Otherwise, if you're on, you know, one of these, you can just click here and say it's a personal trip, and it goes away.
Hey, Daniel. So we just had a question come through about implementation. So I think you actually really just addressed that. This can be implemented ASAP, so long as travelers go onto the tool and install it to Chrome, correct? Now, as far as in a managed IT environment, how exactly would that work with getting that deployed? So I presume there's communication, there might be some challenges with getting this out to everyone since it requires them to do something. What has been your experience and your success with getting this across all users?
Yeah, so it can be done. The easiest way, as you said, is each employee to go to Chrome and install it. But we can work with IT departments. If you do have a managed environment, the IT team, we can work with them to actually push it to employees' computers, and that way it sort of gets broader spread. So those are kind of the two primary ways. There is no plug and play with IT. We would have to talk to IT department, but we have done that before, so we're happy to have that conversation. Once you've had it installed, so I'm hoping a few of you have done that, your next step then would be to actually customize your notification. And as I said, we are building out that admin dashboard you saw, which is nice and quick and easy. But otherwise, this is what you would do today. Would go to sheptravel.com/custom-notify, and I think that link should be in the chat as well. But you would click on that link. There are two things you can do on this page then. You can either upload your users. So if you're the travel manager and you say, you know, I want to add 1,000 of my employees, you can go here and you can download a CSV and fill that out, you know, just copy and paste email addresses into that. And then you would upload that to our system, and they would all get an email saying, hey, click here to download and install SHEP. The other thing you can do here is to customize the notifications. And so this is done a little more manually than the admin dashboard will allow in the future. But I would just go in here and say, I'm Daniel, put in my work email address. And because I have the extension installed, I'm a user in the Shep system. So it'll recognize me and tie me in with my company. And the company, it groups people based on their email domain. So I'll be part of the Shep travel team if I have the extension installed. And then for the title text, that's the top title here, the kind of main feature. So this could be, don't do this. And the body could say, go here instead. The next step would then be to customize the button, and just some ideas. You can say get approval, read the FAQs, get justification, or watch a video. So my button can say book over here, and then I can put in my URL that I want to send them to, and that could be the booking tool. Again, this could be read the FAQ or ask this question to someone else, and then you just link them. This isn't automated yet, so you hit submit, and our team on the background will update that for you and send you an email as soon as that's live. So those are kind of the two steps, is to get the extension installed, which then creates the company in the system, and then create your first notification, and then get your team on. Send out the link to the team or upload that CSV spreadsheet, and we'll add them all in. And that is the gist of the offering, basically.
Perfect. Yeah, and on that theme, so getting it out to everyone. Obviously, we want clients to try it. We want prospects on the line to try it. The Shep Notify platform, as released on a press release a few weeks ago, is out in public for anyone to try, whether you are an FCM customer or not today. But let's look real quick at the future timeline, as well as some global scalability items.
Yeah.
So you mentioned there's the admin panel that's coming out in the next couple of weeks for full-on hands-on admin access, which that's fantastic. But what about, are there any global restrictions, or are there any online booking tools or mediums that this might not work on? How many markets can we support today, since we have some global travel managers on the line?
So today, this is available in 22 countries, and I can pull up that list quickly. But yeah, so it's in 22 different countries, and we support 1,800 websites, and that's sort of the most popular sites across those countries. Now, we can open up new regions. The reason we've only got those 22 countries is because of the, I'm sorry, my screen has gone wonky. The reason we have those 22 countries is because that's where we sort of have that support, the sites. So if you came to us and said, look, we really need this in Addis Ababa, or we need this in Egypt, we would need you to just come to us and say, here are the sites we need, Egypt, here are the websites we need. It's really based on the URLs of the travel websites, and that's kind of the major restriction. It is the major OTAs, major airlines, hotels. We've done a lot of research in that, but we are always looking for more. So if you tell us that, my clients, my team typically stays at this specific hotel chain in the UAE, we can add that in. And it takes about a week or so to get new sites up, but you just need to let us know. So we can scale fairly quickly. And let me pull up that list while I'm talking.
Perfect. And while you're pulling up that list,
yeah.
I think you said something there that caught attention, that related back to a question here. You mentioned preferred hotels. So someone on the line asked, if our company currently uses a preferred hotel directory, can it be embedded so if employees are looking for a hotel, they are directed to a preferred rather than a hotel that is not a preferred?
Yes, I think I'm understanding the question. So is it redirecting them to a directory or to a direct hotel supplier site?
My understanding, and we can maybe take this one offline, is the preferred hotel directory for this company exists, and they want to see if it can be embedded so employees can use it as a reference when looking for hotels.
I believe so. I mean, we'd have to see the format of it, but we really, I mean, when you create these modals, so I'm gonna show you an example. You know, I can create a new one here, and I can put a table in. I can just put a table, and that table could have, you know, the company, the supplier name, and the URL. And so we could have, you could create that table yourself, or if it is accessible to us, we just have to look at that. We could work with that as well. And then when you direct them, you know, if you tell them, this could be telling them in the OBT, hey, here's a list of our preferred suppliers, book this. If they are out in the wild on, you know, sort of booking directly on the hotel site, we could pop up and say, hey, you're on Hilton, here's our corporate code, copy and paste this in. So there's all sorts of, like, it's incredibly flexible. It really does depend on the travel manager's desired behavior and the way they want to run the program. You know, naturally with the OBT bookings, you're getting more reporting, you're getting your negotiated rates, but we've come across all sorts of, you know, flavors of people who want to run things in a million different ways. And so this allows for a lot of flexibility there as far as whatever you want to tell your employees at whatever point, that's up to you. So here's a list of the countries we support. So there's the 22 countries that we currently support. And again, we can open that up. It's just a setting. We go to the Chrome store and we say, hey, you know, we're not in Zimbabwe, open that up. And just so you guys can get an idea, like here are the URLs we support. And so a huge amount of different sites that this is available on.
Excellent. And I'm sure if need be, we could always send that out in part of the follow-up.
Yeah.
A couple other items in that vein. So talking about, again, I guess, scalability, are there any languages worldwide that, obviously it's in English, but are there any other languages that are currently supported today?
At the moment, no, not yet.
Any future plans?
As the requests come in, really, we haven't had, you know, having this only been out for a couple of weeks, we haven't gotten to that point, but we are certainly open to that.
Very good. What about, we had a question, you mentioned Microsoft Edge as a coming web browser. What about for our Apple, our Mac users? What about Safari?
So Safari is a little bit more difficult. They don't have the same sort of open ecosystem, which is kind of Apple's way of doing things, but you know, they don't have the same system where you can just upload things to an extension store. You can build Safari extensions, it's just a little more difficult. So the other, I think 4 that I mentioned, Chrome, Brave, Firefox, and Edge, they all can pretty much use the same code that's just reconfigured slightly, whereas doing Safari requires a complete rebuild, and so that's a little bit further out.
Okay, very good. So you mentioned things further out. Let's talk roadmap. What is on the foreseeable future roadmap? Is it you know, getting those different browsers? Is it getting more web-enabled across mobile? Is it different product enhancements such as the admin panel? If you had to really boil down the pressing as well as the future vision items that are to come with the product, how would you paint that picture?
So I'd say that for us, it's really about ease of use. We want to get people installed and active fairly quickly. So one of the obvious ones that we're working on right now is today you have to click on this to sign in. That's going to go away. As soon as you install it, it's going to pop up a new screen and you'll just log in right there. So we're just trying to remove any sort of friction, get rid of the number of clicks so it just automatically walks you through. The admin panel is big. So we really want this to be self-serve. We want to get out the way and just say, you manage your account, you know, here's all the tools, here's some templates you can use, go ahead. We're here to support you. We've got chat where you can just, you know, ask us questions, but we want to be very self-serve. And honestly, you know, this being a fairly new approach, again, sort of just over a month old, we are looking for feedback. So a lot of our roadmap is not yet out there. It's really us looking to see what are the different use cases that we need to support. If someone comes in and says, hey, we really need to be able to show our company directory so people can see the hierarchy and who they should be sending approvals to, that's something we would build for. So it is getting this in people's hands, seeing how they use it, seeing what they use it for, and what we don't support. We feel like we've built the capabilities to sort of almost house any sort of content. So challenge us, bring us some more interesting stuff that we can play with. Yeah, I mean, mobile is obviously an important one. It is just it would be a different flow because it would be taking data as it's being in one app and then having our own app that kind of like pops up things in between. So it is a little more difficult. So, we are really focused because about in the US, at least, it's still around 70% of business travel is booked on desktop, laptop kind of thing. We know that mobile is growing, but it's not today's focus. We want to get this right, build for the use cases, get feedback, and then expand from there.
Perfect. So on the subject of feedback, just for everyone who's listening, if you are an FCM customer, please channel that through your FCM account manager. We'll make sure that reaches Daniel's desk. And if you are, in fact, a prospect or someone who's unaffiliated with FCM altogether as of today, reach out to whoever sent you the invite for this presentation, and we'll make sure it gets to Daniel as well.
Yeah, another way is, we also have on the tab here the ability to give feedback here. So you can, if you do have bugs, we don't want you sending screenshots of bugs to people who are going to be annoyed by that. So yeah, I mean, as much, we have many channels. So yeah, go through your account managers. It's important for them to know what's going on and to be aware of any issues and bugs and ideas as well, so that they can think about those for their other clients. But yeah, we have many channels. So yeah, let us know what and where and what you need.
Perfect. Daniel, I have a couple more questions here that are coming in. Is there anything from a visual or back on the presentation deck that you wanted to share before we dive into those?
No, I think we got to the end.
Very good. So let's have a quick chat on privacy. So yeah. GDPR, EU-US Privacy Shield, data collection. Where does this work? How does this work? What data is collected by SHEP? What tick boxes are you checking off for information security folks?
Yeah, so we are Privacy Shield certified, so we've gone through that process. We are very careful. We have worked with, as I said, some very large companies. So we have gone through IT and procurement processes where they've looked, and we're very comfortable having those meetings if anyone needs those, to sort of show that we're only ever active on these travel sites. And again, we can share that list with you guys, but you're not going to be, nothing's going to pop up on your Facebook page or your banking page or anything. So we really are just focused on travel and understanding where people are going, and showing them the right message at the right time. And so in order to do that, there is a bit of data capture, like what page are you on, what are you looking for, and that's what triggers those notifications. But it is sort of only on travel sites explicitly.
Very good. We had another question come in earlier about when you flashed up that approval example. Yeah. Let me find where that went. We also have a question about bulk uploads. So let me do those one at a time here.
Yeah.
The approval one I lost. I'll find it in a minute. But the bulk upload one, if you use the bulk upload feature with a CSV file, how do you eliminate personal bookings from showing up in the messaging?
So again, if they're using their work computer and they go to Expedia, the notification will show up. So I'll just show you. The notification will pop up, but all they need to do is either, when it does pop up, say it's a personal trip. But right down there, you can say it's a personal trip, or over here, you can say personal trip. So you can set it there. So it's reloading the site, getting rid of all the notifications, or on any of these sites, on Orbitz, I'm on personal mode still. So I turn that off. So now I'm back on business mode. I can say it's a personal trip here. It says you turn on personal mode and dismiss. So it reloads again. So it's sort of, and you can see all these sites here. You can see they're all reloading. because it's sort of getting rid of any notifications on those. So as soon as that's dismissed, it's now off for 20 minutes, or you can turn it right back on by just clicking here and saying, yeah, I want to turn this back on, and then the notifications will reemerge.
There we go. So I found the approval question, and I think I'm going to actually piggyback on that to extrapolate it a little bit. The original question was, does the approval process that you had shown inhibit travel to be booked in the OBT? My understanding of that is no. It very much comes down to a SHEP-driven workflow, correct? Perfect.
Yeah, so technically it could. So the ability of the extension is we could, when the notification pops up, we could essentially stop the site behind it. We could put a veil between it, so you have to first fill out the form before you can interact behind. We haven't done that just because we think that we're not trying to block people, we're really trying to educate them. So technically that could be done if that was desired. But the approvals right now are sort of like just Google Forms or going to spreadsheets and such. So if you guys had specific forms, that's one of the next things we're going to actually build is a more intuitive. So this is like a mock-up of one that we're building. So sort of saying, you know, how critical is this? It's super critical. It's a sales trip to go see a specific client, and have you been approved for this? And I'm aware of the quarantine. So this is just this is not an actual, I can't do anything on this. It's just a pop-up. There's an image in there, but we're trying to get much smarter about the approval stuff. So that's kind of the next thing we are really building is that approval flow. And then we would need feedback from both the TMC, but as well as the sort of travel manager. Where does that go to? You know, do you want that message to go into Slack, into email, into something else? So we can be very flexible. We're sort of the front end with a container, and you can put whatever in that container, and we can send it to wherever you like. So that's sort of up to you guys to sort of help us work out. Yep.
Perfect. So I guess the piggyback to that is we're looking at SHEP through perhaps leveraging that approval function as an augmented or as a separate approval workflow from what is traditionally offered by TMCs today. How would you characterize that?
Well, you know, the way we're thinking about that is that we've heard from several travel managers that what often happens is someone gets an approval for something somewhere else. They go to the booking tool, they book. There's almost no connection between the two. And when the ticketing, when it's ticketed or it's in the QA queue or whatever, they then find out about it. So that's, you know, running around post booking, trying to fix things that either weren't approved, never got approval, or they booked the wrong thing. So we're trying to kind of get in between that flow, both so that the travel manager and the travel team and the TMC has a little bit more control and visibility into what's going on. But from a traveler perspective, it's super frustrating to spend 30 minutes to an hour finding the perfect trip, getting all that done, thinking you've got it booked, and then someone comes and knocks on your door or sends you an email saying, hey, you know, we're not able to travel to, you know, Germany at the moment, so you're gonna have to cancel that entire thing. So we wanna get in front of that process to lessen the frustration from the traveler, but give the travel team more control.
Great. And last question here before we wrap, about 10 minutes to the hour, is let's look more what's in the news today. COVID-19. What can travel professionals be doing today to tighten up their communication strategies overall as we experience, you know, 0 to nil travel, next to nothing, within their organizations? Is it more deploying the technology? We want to get SHEP out, obviously, which is a big component behind how I think we as FCM are going to be trying to drive that behavior. But what other recommendations might you have in that space? Is it tighten up policy? Is it you know, keeping constituents engaged today? Is it hosting trainings? Is it what is it? What's the magic? Yeah. What's the silver bullet?
I think bite-sized training is going to be very important because, you know, people aren't going to want to sit, you know, and go through 3-hour training about all the new things, because they're gonna forget most of that. So I really think it is getting ahead, not waiting till it's too late. So starting that conversation now and say we recognize travel is going to come back up, and we're putting several new procedures in place, different communication tools, different policies, and we're going to sort of slowly get you ramped up. And I think that instead of a 3-hour training, being able to have several 30 minutes, here's the best practice in this portion, that portion, you know, how to getting people comfortable with the idea, because a lot of it is regaining trust and helping travelers feel more safe. And so I think it's being able to communicate how you as the travel manager, the TMC you work with, how they are working together and have the same priorities, making sure that we're aligned with you as the traveler. We have your safety in mind, and this is what's in place. And I think it gives an opportunity that maybe hasn't been there. You know, everyone has run their travel programs just as part of the daily operations. There's not really okay, we start today, we train today. It's sort of an ongoing thing. It's almost now we have the chance to reset, step back, and sort of set expectations and educate people why they need the TMC, the online booking tool, the support, the servicing, especially in these times where it's uber important to know where your team is, because we just don't know what things are going to look like the next day or the next week. So really driving home the value that these tools and services and vendors provide. And it's not just about us as the company, you know, being sticklers for rules, but you know, it's because we want you as employees to be safe and supported. And so this is an opportunity to I think get that message home.
Excellent. Thank you for that insight. Very good. Well, that puts us right here, 10 minutes to the hour. So we're going to wrap. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Daniel, CEO and co-founder at Shep, for leading today's presentation. That's all for me, Peter Soltakis. So keep your eyes out for a future webinar from FCM in the next couple of weeks on mobile trends in travel. And until then, stay safe, wash your hands, and we're looking forward to traveling with you again soon. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.